Welcome to Milwaukee. And to AMATIC's 45th Annual Conference. We are pleased to hold our conference here in this cold but wonderful city. I'm Jim Ham, and it's my pleasure and privilege to welcome you to Milwaukee and, as AMATIC President, to lead this Thursday keynote and awards session. A special welcome goes out to all first-time attendees. If this is your first AMATIC conference, please stand. Thank you. I hope you find this conference to be a great professional development experience, that you make lots of new friends, and that you return next year and each year to this conference. Next year in Spokane, by the way. My initial remarks will be short. We'll have a couple of welcomes, presentation of several awards, and the keynote presentation by Dr. Francis Su. AMATIC is in the process of constructing a new communication platform that will enable members to continue their professional development throughout the year. The site is my.amatic.org. We call it My AMATIC Site. Last year, AMATIC released its latest publication, Impact: Improving Mathematical Prowess in College Teaching. The work of Impact continues on the My AMATIC site. We will build on the ideas in the Impact document by collecting resources, blogs, videos, and much more. In addition, many communities have been built that focus on a single theme, such as pathways, data science, placement or co-requisites, and many more. The site is under construction now, but feel free to visit and explore. While there, join as many committees as you like. Revisit the My AMATIC site in the coming weeks and months and watch it grow. Thank you. Turi, Suski, would you please join me at the podium to welcome our guests? Turi is the 2019 Milwaukee Local Events Coordinator.
Hello and welcome to Milwaukee. We have an amazing group of volunteers on our local events committee who are here to provide hospitality for you. You'll recognize them by their cheese gear. So please come on over to the Palm Garden hospitality area, and we'd like to meet as many of you as possible. And we'd be delighted to take your picture at our selfie station in one of our genuine Wisconsin cheeseheads. If it's your first time at the AMATIC conference, please, by our selfie station, make sure that you enter the first-time attendees drawing. Some first-time attendee is going to win 2 nights in the Spokane Conference Hotel during the conference next year. So first-time attendees, make sure you enter that drawing. Whether it's your first conference or your 20th, you are now part of the AMATIC family. And whether you came alone or with a team, we invite you to connect with more colleagues and to discover new AMATIC friends. So to that end, we would like to invite you to join dinner groups tonight and tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, to head out and enjoy our wonderful city. So just all you have to do is go to the Wisconsin Center main entrance at 6 o'clock, 6:15, 6:30, 6:45, or 7 o'clock. We will be there with information about local restaurants. We will help you form groups. We have hosts that are scheduled to be there. And then we will help you form a group, choose a restaurant, and head out onto the town to have some fun. So please come and form those amazing relationships that make the AMATIC conference so special. On behalf of the Midwest region, WISMATIC, the WISMATIC affiliate in Wisconsin, and especially the awesome local events committee, we want you to know that when it's cold outside, the Midwest hospitality just gets even warmer. So welcome to Milwaukee.
Also to welcome us, Dr. Susan May, President of Fox Valley Technical College, Turi's college, has been asked to welcome you to the great state of Wisconsin.
Well, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Wisconsin, everyone. As was already mentioned, right now our temperatures may be cold, but the people of the state are truly warm and friendly, and I hope that you find that here. It's really a very special privilege to welcome you all to this conference and to take just a minute to remind you just how critically important your work is as math instructors in our member colleges and universities. Having worked in career and technical education leadership for over 40 years, there are very few career fields today that don't require some mathematic competencies or the critical thinking and problem-solving skills that come with these competencies. Math instruction is certainly a key component of the STEM-related fields and our mainstay programs here in Wisconsin's technical colleges. While I know how important your work is, as do other educational leaders, your students are going to need constant reminders and great examples, not only of the importance, but the relevance of what they're learning in their math courses. I doubt that you can ever overemphasize that. A few words about the Wisconsin Technical College system and the overall structure of higher education in our state. We essentially here have three segments of higher education. The University of Wisconsin system consists of 26 2- and 4-year campuses serving approximately 170,000 students. We have 24 private institutions as members of the Wisconsin Association of Independent Colleges and Universities that enroll approximately 55,000 students annually. And the Wisconsin Technical College system consists of 16 colleges with 49 campuses, plus a number of additional training facilities, serving over 300,000 students each year. Our technical colleges offer more than 500 programs awarding associate degrees, technical diplomas, and certificates. And we also serve as a major provider of registered apprenticeship training, as well as customized training and technical assistance for Wisconsin's employers. We have a dual system of governance for Wisconsin's technical colleges, with both a locally appointed district board of trustees for each of these colleges and a state board for the system with members appointed by the governor. Each of these boards have a distinct set of oversight roles and responsibilities. You know, the underpinnings of our technical colleges date all the way back to 1911, and in the late 1960s, the 16 college districts of today were organized to establish the current statewide system. Our system has tremendous assets and capabilities through our facilities, equipment, advanced technology, industry partnerships, and our faculty and staff, most of, by the way, whom are hired out of private industry. We play a significant role in the economic and social fabric of our state and have for over a century. You just met Turi. As noted, she's a math instructor for our college, and she's a prime example of the tremendous assets and capabilities that we have here in Wisconsin. She's, as mentioned, she's planned the local events, conference events. She's your incoming conference coordinator for AMATIC, and also the WISMATIC president at this time. It's really my pleasure to support her leadership efforts. Most appreciated, Turi. And I wish all of you a wonderful conference. Enjoy the coming days. Thank you.
And on to the awards. I invite Kate Kozak and the 2019 Teaching Excellence Awardees to the stage, where they will receive their award.
How do you do with the lighting urine? Good evening, or afternoon, sorry. Every 2 years, AMATIC presents the AMATIC Teaching Excellence Award to outstanding teachers. Thank you to Pearson and Marcia Horton for supporting the AMATIC Teaching Excellence Award. I am honored to present the awards to the 2019 Teaching Excellence Award winners. The first awardee is Andrea Hendricks. Andrea? Ms. Hendricks is an associate professor of mathematics at Perimeter College at Georgia State University. She is entering her 28th year of teaching at the college level. She has always had a heart for teaching with special interest in developmental mathematics, teaching with technology, and curriculum design. As said in her nomination material, she wants everyone to do well, and she gives all the support and impacts the knowledge to do well. Her most cherished accomplishments include raising her 3 wonderful boys and being happily married to Todd Hendricks, another AMATIC member, for 26 years. Congratulations, Andrea. Next is Holly Markovic. Holly Markovic is an associate professor of mathematics and has been full-time faculty at Wade Technical Community since January 2013. Holly's pedagogical emphasis includes the teaching with heart and authenticity. Holly has a passion for helping students reach their full potential and meet students enthusiastically and with empathy to help them find success in her course and in life. A quote from her nomination material is, "She strives to be the instructor the students enjoy and relate to, and does her best to be engaging and humorous. She shows each student that she truly cares about his or her success, and that she does not take herself seriously, just her students and the math." Holly was presented at regional conferences, NC-MATIC, and national conferences. Unfortunately, Holly cannot be here to accept her award in person. Holly's department head, Joan Romano, is accepting Holly's award for her. Congratulations to Holly. Paul McCombs has been teaching at Rock Valley College since 2001. In addition to teaching full-time at Rock Valley College, he has taught adjunct at Rockford University and is currently a visiting professor at Beloit College in Beloit, Wisconsin. As stated in his nomination material, Paul has an exceptional mathematics teacher, always striving to help his students not only learn mathematics, but also to appreciate its beauty. Paul has been active with Illinois Mathematics Association of Community Colleges, IMAC, has served as president. Paul has received Rock Valley College's Faculty of the Year Award, ISMAC's Distinguished Teaching Award, and ISMAC's Teaching Excellence Award. Paul is a reviewer for the Mathematic Educator, serves on the Mathematics Excellence Award Committee, as well as serves on the Research in Mathematics Education and Two-Year Colleges Committee. Paul and his wife, Julie, have 2 children and have recently become proud grandparents of a sweet baby girl. Congratulations to Paul. Tricia White began teaching at Ozarks Technical Community College, OTC, in Southwest Missouri in 2010, after spending 2 years teaching at an international high school in Jerusalem, Israel. During the 2012-2013 academic year, Tricia participated in a national project, Global Skills for College Completion, that focuses on using reflection and teaching communities in improving instructional practices. A quote from her nomination letter is, "Trish is valued by her colleagues. For example, one of her peers stated that, 'I have become a better teacher and person because of Tricia's gentle examples of how to treat all people with respect and total attention.'" In 2017, Tricia became lead mathematics instructor at the OTC Rockville Valley campus. She has served on several statewide committees, including the Missouri Mathematics Pathways Statewide Task Force, and is currently co-chairing the Missouri Mathematics Advisory Committee. She is also an executive board member of MOMATIC and a frequent presenter at regional conferences. Tricia is committed to her students' success and eagerly looks for new ways to improve her classroom. Congratulations to Tricia.
The AMATIC Foundation, through donations from AMATIC members like you, funds other AMATIC awards. Will Carrie Muir and Sarah Sexton please join me on the stage? The Leila and Simon Peskoff Award, made possible through contributions to the AMATIC Foundation by Fred Peskoff in memory of his parents, is given annually to a AMATIC Project Access Fellow who has contributed to the education profession in the area of mathematics taught in the first 2 years of college. The Peskoff Award is given to an AMATIC member who successfully completed the 2-year Project Access program, demonstrated familiarity with the scholarship of teaching, participated actively in professional communities, and demonstrated a commitment to continued growth in mathematics. This year's recipient is Carrie Muir of Whatcom Community College. She was a member of Cohort 13 for Project Access. Carrie, I present to you a lifetime membership in AMATIC. Congratulations. The Margie Hobbs Award, made possible through contributions to the AMATIC Foundation. The award is given to an AMATIC member who has submitted and been accepted to speak at the annual conference. This is a first-time presenter and sole presenter of the accepted session. This year's recipient of the Margie Hobbs Award is Sarah Sexton from East Central College in Missouri. Sarah will receive a certificate and a check to help defray some of the travel expenses to the conference. Her talk is titled Great Ideas, Using POGLE to Elevate Student Learning. POGLE, Process-Oriented Guided Inquiry Learning. Congratulations, Sarah. The purpose of the AMATIC Wanda Garner Student Scholarship is to encourage the study of mathematics by students enrolled in institutions of higher education. The recipient will receive a $1,000 scholarship from the AMATIC Foundation. This year's winner is Yingying Zheng of Georgia Perimeter College of Georgia State University. Yingying was nominated by Diana McGinnis on behalf of the GMATIC affiliate. Thanks to all of you for your support of the AMATIC Foundations. Your donations, big and small, help fund these awards and other AMATIC projects. The results of the 2018-2019 Student Math League are in. Here are the top 11 individual scores. Regional awards will be presented at the Friday regional meetings, and the top national team and individual award will be presented on Saturday. Special thanks to all of you who serve your students as a Student Math League moderator. – 2019 was the second year of the AMATIC Student Research League, a new national student mathematics competition. Presented here are the top 10 team scores in no particular order. Regional awards will be presented on Friday at the regional meetings, and the award to the top national and individual will be presented on Saturday. Special thanks to all of you who serve your students as a student research mentor, or if you serve as an evaluator. Join me in a round of applause for these outstanding students. Our Thursday keynote speaker is Dr. Francis Sue. There's a very nice but short bio in the program that I encourage you to read. Briefly, Dr. Sue is a member of an all-star faculty at Harvey Mudd College, the past president of the Mathematical Association of America, MAA, Harvard educated and has studied under Professor Percy Diakonis. Dr. Sue also received the 2013 Heimo Award for Distinguished Teaching, is the creator of MathFeed, the math news app, is a friend of AMATIC, having presented in 2 previous years at our annual conference. Dr. Sue has a passion for teaching, popularizing mathematics, and calling people to greater awareness of issues that contribute to inequitable mathematics education. At the 2017 joint math meetings, Dr. Sue gave his retiring presidential address on the idea of mathematics as human flourishing. This presentation was the highlight of the conference, and it rocked the mathematics community. The presentation went viral on social media, eventually leading to the publication of his new book by the same name and to his 2018 MAA Helmus Ford Award for Distinguished Writing. His message today will reveal how mathematics is intimately tied to being human and that the intellectual pursuit of mathematics can and must be open to all. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sue back to AMATIC to share with us his current thoughts on mathematics for human flourishing.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here in the cold. I stepped off the plane and was shivering. I lost my jacket somewhere along the way, so I'm especially cold today. I want to talk about why it is that when we think about who does mathematics, why is it some people are afraid of mathematics? Why does mathematics, the subject of math, produce joy for some and anxiety for others? And what do some people see in math that other people don't see? Think about anything in your life that you're passionate about. Just take a moment, think about something that some interest you have that you are excited about. What draws you to those passions? I believe that if you think about what draws you to those passions, you'd realize you're drawn to them usually because of some basic human desire that you have. And for some, mathematics meets those basic human desires. But it doesn't do that for all. Why not? I think the teaching of mathematics has become disconnected from what it means to be human. But you and I can change that. I really like this quote by Simone Weil. Every being cries out silently to be read differently. Christopher Jackson is an inmate in a federal penitentiary. He's been in trouble with the law since he was 14. He never finished high school. He had an addiction to hard drugs. And at age 19, he was involved in a string of armed robberies that led to him receiving a 32-year sentence. When you think about who does mathematics, would you think of Christopher? And yet, he wrote me this letter after 7 years in prison. He said this: I've always had a proclivity for mathematics, but being in a very early stage of youth and living in some adverse circumstances, I never came to understand the true meaning and benefit of pursuing an education. Over the last 3 years, I have purchased and studied a multitude of books to give me a profound understanding of Algebra 1, Algebra 2, college algebra, geometry, trigonometry, Calculus 1, and Calculus 2. And I received this letter out of the blue from Christopher because he was looking for some help in furthering his mathematics education. So when you think of who does mathematics, would you think of Christopher? And yet Chris has been on a journey. He's exploring math with fresh eyes. He's beginning to see that it's different from the dry and uninspired form of math that he'd been taught before. He's growing in his knowledge and his love of the subject. And his insights have inspired me, even as a mathematician, to believe more fully that math has something to offer everyone. Every being cries out silently to be read differently. Simone Weil is a well-known French religious mystic and a widely revered philosopher, and she's probably less well-known as the younger sister of André Weil, one of history's most famous number theorists. And for Simone, to read someone means to interpret or make a judgment about them. She's saying that every being cries out silently to be judged differently. And I sometimes wonder if Simone were crying out also about herself. For she too loved and participated in mathematics, but she was always comparing herself to her brother. She writes this: "At 14, I fell into one of those fits of bottomless despair that come with adolescence, and I seriously thought of dying because of the mediocrity of my natural faculties. The exceptional gifts of my brother, who had a childhood and youth comparable to those of Pascal, brought my own inferiority home to me. I didn't mind having no visible successes, but what did grieve me was the idea of being excluded from that transcendent kingdom to which only the truly great have access and wherein truth abides. And I preferred to die rather than live without that truth." Now, we know Simone loved mathematics because she used mathematical examples throughout her philosophical writing. And you'll find her in photos of BOURBAKI. This is a group of French reformist mathematicians that included André, her brother. And you can see here, André is the one waving the bell, and Simone can be seen off to the left. I guess the pointer's not working. Simone is off to the left, leaning over some notes. And I often wonder what her relationship to mathematics would be like if she weren't always in André's shadow. Every being cries out silently to be read differently. Now, you might look at me, a math professor like you guys, and think my relationship to math has always been solid. Maybe you think I've never struggled in math. But I grew up in a small rural town in South Texas. That's me with hair. With limited opportunities in this small town. Most of my high school peers didn't attend college. It wasn't a standard thing for people to do. But I did have some supportive teachers in high school, and they encouraged me. And at university, I had also some great professors. And I managed to get admitted to Harvard for my PhD. But I felt out of place there because unlike many of my peers, I did not come from an Ivy League school. And unlike them, I didn't have a full slate of graduate courses when I entered, and I felt behind and underprepared. I felt like Simone Weil, standing next to future André Weils, thinking that I would never be able to flourish if I were not like them. And I was told by one professor that I didn't belong in graduate school. And that unkind remark forced me to consider, among other things, why I was even doing this. Why did I want to study mathematics? And that's a question I want all of us to think through today. Why do mathematics? Why is Christopher sitting in a prison cell studying calculus that he'll never use as a free man? Why is Simone so captivated by transcendent mathematical truths? Why should anybody persist in doing mathematics or seeing herself as a mathematical person when others are telling her in subtle ways, and maybe not so subtle ways, that she doesn't belong? And society is also asking now what its relationship to mathematics should be. Is mathematics only a tool to make you, quote, college and career ready, so that you can go and achieve your real aims in life? Or is mathematics unnecessary for most of us and only reserved for the elite few? Why study math if you'll never use what you're learning? You see, these questions arise because math is often seen as just a means to an end, a tool that you'll use later, rather than a pursuit that serves you well right now. When kids ask, "When will I ever use this?" what they're really asking is, "When will I ever value this?" They haven't seen, they're equating value with utility because they haven't seen that they can value anything more. And yet in a Florida prison, Christopher isn't asking the question, "When will I ever use this?" He's poring over textbooks, learning math in hopeful anticipation of its own intrinsic rewards. So if you asked me, why do mathematics? I would say this: because mathematics helps people flourish. Mathematics is for human flourishing. Now, when I say human flourishing, what I'm referring to is to a wholeness of being and doing, of realizing one's potential and helping others to do the same, of acting with honor and treating others with dignity, of living with integrity, even in challenging circumstances. It's not the same as happiness, and it's not just a state of mind. Another way to think about human flourishing is the well-lived life. How do you live life well? And the ancient Greeks had a word for this, eudaimonia, which they viewed as the overarching good in life, to live life well. There's a similar word in Hebrew, shalom, which is often used as a greeting, and it's translated peace, but the word actually has a far richer meaning. To say shalom to someone is to wish that they would flourish and live well. And Arabic has a related word, salam. And a basic question taken up by philosophers and regular people like you and me throughout the ages is, how do you achieve human flourishing? What is the well-lived life? The philosopher Aristotle would say that flourishing comes about through the exercise of virtue. And you can think of virtue as excellence of character that leads to excellence of conduct. So it includes more than just moral virtue. For instance, courage, wisdom, patience, these are also virtues. And so what I hope to convince you of today is that mathematics, the practice of mathematics, cultivates virtues that help people flourish. These virtues serve you well no matter what profession you choose. These are better answers to the question, why do math? And the movement towards virtue happens through basic human desires, desires that we all have, that we long for. And these are all desires that can draw us into doing mathematics. And so today I want to talk about 7 basic human desires. There's many that we could talk about, but I've just chosen 7. And how math meets these desires. And the first of these is exploration. When I was a child, growing up in a small rural town, I loved the stars. And in the town where I lived, far from any big city, I could see even the dimmest ones. It's very different than where I'm living today in LA, where you can't even see a star, except a Hollywood star. I begged my parents for a telescope, but we didn't have the money. So I devoured books on astronomy, and I dreamed about space. My childhood imagination was further stoked by the journey of the Voyager probes through the solar system. I saw pictures like these printed in the papers. Many of you probably grew up with me and in seeing some of these beautiful pictures that for the first time we were seeing these rings up close. You see, exploration is a deep human desire, and it's a mark of human flourishing. And I could explore these worlds, even from a small town in Texas, 900 million miles away. Now, mathematical exploration is very much like space exploration, but of a different kind of space, a space of ideas. You don't know what you find when you start, You send out probes to test theories. You're captivated by mystery. You're motivated by questions. You're unfazed when you encounter a setback. And you make discoveries from a distance. This is what it looks like to explore. You make discoveries from a distance because the ideas themselves here are not physical, because you access this space through reason. And exploration is at the heart of what it means to do mathematics. And you don't need a lot of resources except your mind to be a math explorer. And as a result, you can embark on an adventure from anywhere: a prison, a small rural town, or some far-flung corner of the earth. And exploration cultivates in us virtues like imagination and creativity. In order to solve problems, you have to ideate new possibilities. It's part of what makes many of the recent technological marvels possible, is people innovating with their imagination and their creativity. And math explorers like to dream up new ways of visualizing things, patterns. And math explorers begin to envision the hidden structures that underlie everything we do. And exploration also cultivates in another virtue. One of my favorite virtues that I like to talk about is the expectation of enchantment. Doing mathematics cultivates the expectation of enchantment. Explorers are excited by the thrill of finding the unexpected, especially things weird and wonderful. It's why hikes through unfamiliar terrain entice us. It's why unexplored caves beckon to us. It's why the strange creatures of the deep sea ocean floor fascinate us. What else might be lurking down there? And in math, it's the same way. When we take a fractal Menger sponge like this with self-similar squares and cubes all over, and we slice it diagonally and then find a bunch of hexagonal stars. Whoa, yes, I heard that. Some people, whoa. We're surprised. We are enchanted. And we learn to expect enchantment around every corner, which makes math exciting to learn. So we keep coming back for more. It's what brings us, draws us back for more. So what would it look like if, as we teach mathematics, we opened our students up to the expectation of enchantment? Because if you think that math is about memorizing things and not making sense of things, of course, you're going to think it's dull and boring. But for Christopher, math isn't a tool, it's hidden treasure. And at every opportunity, we need to counter the idea that math is memorization and replace it with the idea that math is exploration. A math memorizer doesn't know how to react in unfamiliar situations, but a math explorer can flexibly adapt to changing conditions. We can all be math explorers. We can teach our students to be math explorers because it is a basic human desire. Here's a second basic human desire, the desire to play. Now, play is hard to define, but we can think of a few qualities that characterize play. For instance, play ought to be fun. Otherwise, it wouldn't be play. But there's lots of other qualities about play. You think about all the various kinds of play: sports play, musical play, beach play, board games, word play. There's usually some structure, like the rules of a game or musical chords. But there's lots of freedom within that structure, and that freedom leads to exploration of some sort. In jazz, it's called improvisation. In sport, it's the way the play unfolds as you play the game. The gameplay is different each time you play. Play is often whimsical, with no great stake in the outcome, and the investigation can often lead to some sort of surprise, like a discovery, or a satisfying pun in wordplay, or a thrilling end to a football game. Of course, animals play too, but what characterizes human play is the enlarged role of the mind and the imagination. So if you think about a game like Set, okay, how many people have played the game Set here? I'm sure many here have. Or any other game, actually. There's often many of these character qualities that make it interesting. There's an interplay between structure and freedom. There's an investigation that can lead to the delight of finding a set of matched cards. And mathematics makes the mind its playground. We play with patterns, we play with ideas, we explore what's true, and we enjoy the surprises along the way. There's even a whole area of mathematics known as recreational mathematics. It's an actual discipline in mathematics. What other fields have a recreational subdiscipline? My chemist friend said, well, there is recreational chemistry. Yeah, I guess so. And mathematical play builds in us virtues that enable us to flourish in every area of our lives. For instance, math play builds hopefulness and concentration. When you sit with a puzzle long enough, you are exercising hope that you will eventually solve that problem. Math play builds the ability to change perspectives. Don't we do a lot of that in mathematics? Just like in gameplay, when you analyze a situation from multiple points of view, yours and your opponent's, and you imagine the possibilities. We do that in math play as well. Math play builds perseverance. Just as weekly soccer practices build up muscles that make us stronger for the next game, weekly math investigations make us more fit to solve that next problem, even if we don't solve the current problem. Play is part of human flourishing, and you cannot flourish without play. So as we teach math, let's make room for questions, for surprise, for investigation, for imagination. Let's de-emphasize the role of grades. I like to say grades are not a measure of progress. Grades are a measure of progress, not a measure of promise. Let's focus on the process of doing mathematics, not just always focusing on the outcome. I like to assign reflective exercises in my classes. This is one of the questions I often ask at the end of a class. What have you learned in this class about the process of doing or creating mathematics? Just asking a reflective question signals to our students that we value something more than just the outcome. Let's make math a playful sport, not a performance sport. Here's a third basic human desire, the desire for beauty. The yearning for and the satisfaction gained from mathematical insight bring the subject near to art. Mathematician Olga Toski-Todd. Who among us doesn't enjoy something beautiful? A beautiful sunset, a sublime sonata, a profound poem, or even an illuminating idea. We can all experience mathematical beauty even if we don't know much math, right? We may first see it in striking patterns governed by mathematical laws that are as beautiful as a sunset, the turbulence under an airplane wing, fractal patterns in cauliflower. By the way, that's my own picture of a fractal. Fractal cauliflower I saw in Europe, and I'd never seen one before. How many people have seen fractal cauliflower? Yeah, it's called Romanesco cauliflower. It's the most amazing. I mean, I was just in a store, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a fractal. What's going on? I think I startled the people around me. Ripples in sand, more patterns. Mathematicians study patterns, and they study all these kinds of things, but you don't need a lot of advanced math to simply marvel in beauty and look at this. And one of the first questions you begin to ask yourself is, why? Where do these patterns come from? You see, why is the most fundamental mathematical question. And when you study math a little deeper, you witness a more sublime kind of beauty, like the beauty of a formula that seems to connect surprisingly unrelated things, or the simplicity, regularity, and order of the laws of the universe. These are called beautiful. They feel transcendent because they seem like they're saying something wonderful about the nature of the universe. And many people have asked this question: why is it that math is as powerful as it is to explain the world? Nobel Prize-winning physicist Eugene Wigner asked this question, and he said this: "The miracle of the appropriateness of the language of mathematics to the formulation of the laws of physics is a wonderful gift which we neither understand nor deserve." He's being wowed by mathematical beauty. Einstein said this: "How can it be that mathematics, being after all just a product of human thought, independent of experience, is so admirably adapted to the objects of reality?" Mathematicians try to understand why something is true by producing proofs, but we're not just satisfied with any proof of a theorem, right? We often look for the most pleasing proofs, the simplest proofs, the best proofs in some sense. We even have a word for this, right? We say a proof is elegant. Paul Erdős often spoke of the book that God keeps, in which all the most elegant proofs of theorems are kept. And pursuing mathematics for its beauty cultivates in us virtues, like the virtue of reflection, when you contemplate beautiful ideas, just like you'd contemplate a beautiful forest. It leads to joyful gratitude and transcendent awe. And when we see and experience profound beauty from seeing a beautiful idea everywhere, we begin to build in us an important virtue, the virtue of habits of generalization. Because we begin to expect overarching patterns everywhere, we begin to expect enchantment. Overarching patterns everywhere. So when I learn a new theorem, I often ask, what gives this theorem its power? What's the underlying principle? Right? This is the kind of thing I want to encourage in my students as I teach them as well, to step back and ask the bigger question. What's going on here? What's the underlying idea? How might this apply to a more general situation? And such habits carry over to other areas of my life as well, right? When I'm cooking a stir fry and I learn a new recipe, I often ask, what general principles does this recipe teach me? Because I don't want to have to memorize every recipe, right? I'm not the kind of person who likes to take a book off the shelf and sit there and sorry, I have a habit. Thank you. Sit there and pore over a recipe book. So what general principles does this recipe teach me? Add garlic and chopped onions first. Put in basil at the end or it's going to lose its color. And this habit of looking for general cooking principles or general mathematical principles allows you to improvise new delights. So if math is for human flourishing, we have to help others see its beauty. We have to give them opportunities to reflect on beauty. One of the things that I often like to do is start off a class with a fun fact, a cool math tidbit that has nothing to do with the thing that they're necessarily learning in the class. And it's just a way for me to share some joy and beauty with my students. And I've put them all up on a website. The website has recently been updated, so some of the graphics aren't quite working anymore. But you can find them if you want to Google it and look for it. But you can also assemble your own cool, fun facts and start off your classes that way as well. How do we make reflection a regular part of our math courses? Again, I like reflection. I like asking my students questions that make them sit back and ponder. What striking patterns do you see in the world around you? Why are they there? We have to learn to motivate beauty in diverse ways to mirror the many different ways that people are going to come to mathematics, through art, through music, through expressions and culture, through patterns, through rigorous arguments, through the elegance of simple but profound ideas, and through applications. Here's another basic human desire, the desire for justice. This is the full quote by Simone Weil. Justice is to be ever ready to admit that another person is perhaps something different, completely different from what we read in him. Every being cries out silently to be read differently. My favorite Chinese restaurant serves authentic cuisine, just like my parents used to make. And when you order an entree, they bring you an appetizer and dessert as well. And it's a bargain, so I don't complain that the appetizer, which are these little crunchy noodles, or the jello, or the dessert, which is jello, I don't complain that those aren't authentic. But one day, I went there with a Chinese-speaking friend, and when the appetizer came, it wasn't crunchies, but it was these delectable pickled cucumbers. But my friend hadn't made any special request. And then when the dessert came, it was red bean soup, just like my mom used to make. How come I had not gotten this before? And I began to see a pattern. Whenever I came with non-Asian friends, I would get the crunchies and the jello. But when I came with Asian friends, I got the good stuff without even asking. And then I noticed that my Chinese friends were offered a completely different menu, the secret menu, with the more authentic dishes. I looked around at the restaurant and I beheld a bizarre sight. People side by side in the same space, having very different experiences. The non-Asians ordering from the standard menu and getting jello, but Asians at the next table ordering from the secret menu and getting red bean soup. And I was told, even when I asked for the menu, oh, no. You won't like the stuff on that menu. You see, even though I'm of Chinese descent, the waiters had assumed, because I speak perfect English, that I must not be interested in the authentic Chinese food. Now, why do I tell this story? I say this because mathematical spaces in the home and in the classroom, they can be like this restaurant. Whom do we allow a peek at the secret mathematical menu? With whom do we share mathematical delights, puzzles, games, or toys? Whom do we let into our information circle about mathematics? Whom do we shepherd towards taking more math courses? And whom do we discourage? No. You won't like the stuff on that menu. What conscious or unconscious assumptions are we making? You see, justice means treating people fairly, and it's required for human flourishing. We flourish, we experience shalom and salam when we treat others justly and when we are treated justly ourselves. And if you believe that mathematics is for human flourishing, you'll look around and you'll see that the demographics of those who do math and science in America don't look like the demographics of America. We've kept whole segments of our population away from the flourishing that's available in mathematics, either by lack of access or explicit messages of disapproval. You don't belong in graduate school. And often we don't realize we're doing it. For instance, these days I'm used to being at math conferences and seeing a sea of white faces. So even I'm used to this. So even I was a little bit surprised that when I was elected president of the Mathematical Association of America, a prominent blogger on race issues for Asian Americans wrote a blog post about it. And his name is Angry Asian Man. He's angry. An angry Asian man looked at the photos of past MA presidents on our website, and given how many Asians he expected to see in math, he noted they were all white except for me and wrote a sarcastic post entitled, "Finally, an Asian guy who's good at math." You see, the dominant narrative about Asians is that Asians often don't make good leaders. What other assumptions do we make about other people groups? These are hard conversations to have, and they're not ones that we're used to having in mathematical spaces or communities, in the classroom, or with our colleagues. So if you're looking to start conversations, I'm willing to be helpful. I've written a number of articles on many of the issues that affect assumptions about how we do math, who does math, and what we say in the classroom that can unintentionally discourage people from doing math. And they're all posted on my website, so you can use them. I assure you that having conversations like this is actually an important and useful part of a mathematical education, and it'll be time well spent. And to seek justice in mathematics builds many virtues, among them a concern for the marginalized and a willingness to challenge the status quo. You see, when we begin to see how our experiences are different than our neighbors, we will want the secret menu for everyone. Here's another basic human desire for freedom. Maybe you don't associate freedom with doing math, but there are many freedoms that we take for granted in the way that we do math. The freedom to imagine, the freedom to explore, the freedom of understanding. These are freedoms that are not there for all of us. I've had a rich correspondence with Christopher in prison about freedom, and he's made some astute observations. He said this: at the most basic level, freedom is the ability to act without fear. But as Chris came to understand by playing chess, and he's a really great chess player, by the way, I've played him now a couple of different times, and he's beat me both times. As he came to understand from playing chess, freedom is also about knowing all the options available to you. Another player can dominate you and control you by limiting your options on the chessboard. He said, it's a sign of a skilled chess player that he or she can play well out of any position or circumstance on the board. The person who is unaware of his or her options is like a player who's in a bad position. Because even if there are fruitful paths available to you that you are not aware of, they may as well not exist. This is like if a player finds himself with two bishops against a lone king, but doesn't know that two bishops can checkmate, he or she will call a stalemate. But when this person is shown, educated, that two bishops can checkmate, they will always recognize this situation as a win. And this is, in my opinion, the main bridge of education, to take people to a place where they can recognize the pathways to success. This is from Christopher. By climbing our visions of ourselves, education allows us to transcend ourselves and thereby help others to do the same. You see, if you have pursued the freedom that understanding brings, you build resourcefulness. You begin to have hope that problems can indeed be solved. Problems can indeed be solved. You see, not everybody has that hope. This is one of the most wonderful things about teaching mathematics, is you're teaching students that problems can be solved. We can help people have the hope that problems can be solved by teaching them mathematics. You begin to be fearless in asking questions. You become an independent thinker when you pursue the freedom that mathematics brings. Pursuing mathematics is a way to help people become freer human beings. Here's a sixth basic human desire: community. I love this quote by Parker Palmer. To teach is to create a space in which the community of truth is practiced. Teaching isn't just a one-way transmission of information, is it? To teach is to create a space in which the community of truth is practiced. I received a letter from a guy named Ricardo, who's a New York City native, the son of immigrants in a working-class neighborhood. His father never finished high school. His mother didn't make it past the 8th grade. And he had shown an aptitude for math at an early age, but he lacked a mentor to guide him towards the STEM tracks. And so he ended up in another career. But now he's taken the brave step of returning to school at age 40 in a program for non-traditional students. And after reading a version of this talk online, he wrote me this letter. Here's what he said. While the rigor and pressure of being in a really tough academic environment have been almost impossibly difficult, especially being out of practice for so long, it's the entrenched feeling that I don't belong in these math and CS classes that has sometimes been the most harmful. These feelings are probably most tied to my early life and the fact that any dreams I might have had then were in discord with the cold realities of my neighborhood and life, and I didn't have any mentor then to disabuse me of that great untruth. That distorted reality, the I'm not supposed to be here, runs as an infinite loop process, even in unseen ways. It is a constant struggle. You see, he's wrestling with this feeling that many of us have experienced in different settings, the feeling of I'm not supposed to be here, the imposter syndrome. And one of the best ways to combat that is to build a community in our classrooms that will help address those feelings. You can't flourish as a human being without a supportive community. So how do we build supportive communities in our classroom so that students are able to open up with each other, share life together, not just share math together, share joys and sorrows, hopes and fears? A community helps us normalize struggle and helps us realize I'm not alone in my struggle. So doing math well means making space for community. But we have to be mindful that math communities are often too focused on achievement, often a narrow, one-dimensional kind of achievement. Hierarchies begin to get reinforced when we rank people according to some singular ability. And this works against community. It's so detrimental. We do this in so many ways when we think there's only one way to be successful in mathematics. Right, in grade school, people often look to speed as a measure of mathematical ability. And of course, all of us in this room know that speed isn't a measure of mathematical ability. In some ways, it's not the fastest people who are doing math well, it's the ones who are doing it slowly, thinking deeply about the ideas that are there. In many ways, there are so many more ways to show growth in math. In high school, it looks like rushing to take calculus, as if calculus is the only mark of what it means to do or be good at math. In college, it looks like this, worrying that if I didn't start in an advanced place class, I must not be good enough to do math. When I was a grad student at Harvard, I was teaching calculus, and there were three versions of calculus that they offer there. There's the regular calculus class, there's the honors calculus class called Math 25, and there's the super honors calculus class called Math 55. And I regularly encountered and had to counsel students who started in the honors class and said because they didn't place into super honors, they're not going to study mathematics. They're not going to be a math major. What a shame. For professional mathematicians, it often looks like this. How many papers have you published? Because you can't be a real mathematician unless you publish research papers. Right? There's so many different ways that we try to measure mathematical ability as if it's something one-dimensional. Too often we think of math as a pole in the ground, and there's only one way for the vine to grow up the pole. In reality, math is more like a trellis. And as a vine, you can find your way up the trellis in multiple places where it meets the ground, and you can grow in multiple directions. And so we have to fight this one-dimensional view of mathematics. And how do we do that? Well, we can praise growing in the virtues that are wrought by mathematics. We have to remind our students that this is part of what it means to do mathematics too. Persistence, curiosity, imagination, habits of generalization, the expectation of enchantment. These are all part of what it means to do mathematics. being disposed to beauty. So we have to think about how we design group work and do it well, so that the contributions of everybody in the group are required for the group to succeed. Community helps one another see each other's humanity. This is a huge part of doing mathematics. And by practicing mathematics in this way, we build virtues like hospitality in welcoming new people to math, vulnerability when we share our own struggles and normalize that struggling can be even an exciting part of doing math, right? There's such a big shift, I think, for us now who are doing mathematics. At some point, you realize that actually struggling is good. Like struggling is where it happens. It's where you learn. How do we remind our students of this? We develop a disposition to affirm others when we think about community in mathematics. We build our ability to give attention to people in a deep way. This should be part of doing mathematics too. So don't let anybody tell you that math is just cold and logical and lifeless, a bunch of rules to follow. Who would want to learn that? Who would want to teach that? That's not what it means to do math. You cannot separate the true practice of mathematics from what it means to be human. Because we're not just mathematical machines. We live, we breathe, we feel, we bleed. And if you want to teach math well, you have to connect math to the things that people long for, the underlying longings that all of us have for exploration, for play, for beauty, for justice, for freedom, for community. So let me challenge all of us today. Believe that you and everyone in your classes, in your life, can flourish in mathematics. Who will you read differently? This is a challenge for me too, because I've done this. I've written off kids, often because I don't have the imagination that I need for the sacred responsibility of teaching. You might have a Christopher in your class who's fallen in with drugs and the wrong crowd, never seemed interested in math. Maybe he even seemed lazy. If you knew what he was going through, you might read him differently. 6 years after he wrote me that first letter from prison, he's now helping other inmates to get their GEDs. He's using the meager income he makes to buy math books, and he's studying topology and advanced analysis now. And he says this, I'm studying anywhere between 3 to 5 hours Monday through Friday and 2+ hours Saturday and Sunday, depending on how I'm feeling. It's harder to study and read here because you're not in a traditional cell with a cell door that you can be enclosed in. But everything is open, and we live in an open top, 8 by 10 foot cube with walls that extend 6 feet off the ground and a 3-foot gap in the 8-foot side to act as your door. Also, I'm in a room without a desk, so I have to take 2 chairs to do studying in, but hopefully that will change soon because I'm in the works of trying to move to a cube with a desk. But I can't complain too much. I grab my earplugs, my 2 chairs, and I go to work. When you think of who does mathematics, would you think of Christopher? No one would call him lazy or disinterested now. Would I have had the imagination to see a math future for him 10 years ago? Believe that you and everybody in your life can flourish in mathematics. Because what I'm asking all of us to do, you already know is at the heart of what it means to teach and at the center of every virtue and anything good in our lives. I'm asking all of us to love. You see, love is the greatest human desire, and to love and be loved is the supreme mark of human flourishing because it serves all the other desires for exploration, for play, for beauty, for truth, for freedom. And it's served by them. Love is the source of and the end of every virtue. Every being cries out silently to be read differently. Every being cries out silently to be loved. Christopher in prison wasn't just looking for mathematical advice, he was looking for connection. He was looking for somebody to see him, to say to him, I see you, and I share the same transcendent passion that you do. When I was in the depths of graduate school, struggling against professors who thought I would never succeed, ready to give up, one professor reached out to me. He said, I would rather see you work with me than quit. So I stand before you to ask you, who will you love? Who will you read differently? I'm just going to end with a few reflections. Simone Weil, after wrestling with her own insecurity in math, she actually saw that there was a path through struggle to virtue. When she writes this, the love of our neighbor in all its fullness simply means being able to say to him, what are you going through? It's a recognition that the sufferer exists not only as a unit in a collection or a specimen from the social category labeled unfortunate, but as a man exactly like us who was one day stamped with a special mark by affliction. For this reason, it's enough, but it's indispensable to know how to look at him in a certain way. This way of looking is first of all attentive. The soul empties itself of all its own contents in order to receive into itself the being it is looking at just as he is in all his truth. Only he who is capable of attention can do this. So it comes about, paradoxical as it may seem, a Latin prose or geometry problem, even though they are done wrong, may be of great service one day, provided we devote the right kind of effort to them. Should the occasion arise, they can one day make us better able to give someone in affliction exactly the help required to save him at the supreme moment of his need. You see, she had found a path through struggle to virtue. She understood that mathematics is for human flourishing. This next reflection is from Ricardo, our 40-year-old friend who returned to school. I had a chance to meet him when I was in New York City recently. He said this, I'm in classes with 20-year-olds, and I'm having the time of my life. The learning has unlocked much I didn't know existed in myself. But since I've been back, I struggled with math. Calculus really has beat me up. And after a 20-year break from it, I'm finding it harder to relearn, finding it impossible to imagine that I was ever really good at this. But even in the pain and the failure of trying to reshape my brain to comprehend, I feel more alive than I ever have before. Ricardo understands mathematics is for human flourishing. And this final letter is from Max, who wrote me after reading a version of my talk. He said, I just finished reading your wonderful article and I felt compelled to reach out with a small personal story. When I was in second grade, I struggled with subtraction and I asked my teacher for help. She snapped, told me some mean-spirited equivalent of, you need to go figure that out because it isn't hard. And I returned to my desk feeling like the biggest idiot. I barely ever asked for math help after that, and I struggled for mediocre grades until college. But in college, I fell in love with an aerospace engineering major. And her deep understanding of mathematics was almost intimidating. And at the same time, I discovered a passion for economics, and through that, math's ability to elegantly explain complex phenomena. I only have an undergrad degree, but I've managed to work in applied math ever since graduating, and today I do time series analysis in healthcare. If only I could tell 8-year-old me of this trajectory. Discovering the beautiful intersection of mathematics and the humanities will always have a very special place in my heart, and I love to share it with others. The path I've been on has shaped my perspective that anyone, regardless of gender, ability, race, or otherwise, can be part of this wonderful thing. You see, math can be so much more than we make of it when we see how it's connected to our basic human desires. And if that's the case, then everyone really is a math person. And your basic human desires reveal your mathematical nature. And you only need to awaken it. And as teachers, you have the power to awaken those desires in students, to help them see the world differently and read themselves differently in math. And what it means to love another human being is to see the mathematical potential in everyone, to see each one as worthy of the beauty and the joy that come from understanding. Everybody is worthy of that. That should motivate us. And your tireless work, which often goes unacknowledged, day in and day out, is meaningful because of you are shaping real human lives, endowing people with wonder and beauty and dignity just by the way you love them. You have the power to envision a future, even a mathematical future for your students that they can't see for themselves. Who will you read differently? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sue. Now for a couple of announcements. The exhibits hall opens immediately after this session in ballroom A and B. Attend the forums tonight in 102 C, D, and E. Rooms right here in the convention center. There are 5 forums from 7 to 8:30. We'll be asking for feedback on position statements and bylaws changes. Regional lunches this year will be held on Friday, tomorrow, beginning at 11:45. A ticket is required for lunch in rooms 101, 102, 201, 202 in the convention center. See the program for your regional lunchroom. The Faculty Math League competition will occur on Friday as well in 203C from 3:10 to 4 p.m. with the winners to be announced at the Saturday morning session. Top prize will be a $50 gift certificate sponsored by Mu Alpha Theta. Poster session is also Friday from 2 to 4 p.m., ballroom CD foyer. You're invited to AMATIC's committee and ANET meetings, which will begin Friday, 4:15 p.m. See the conference program or the conference app for specific locations. Our committees and ANETs are open to everyone, so please pick your favorite topic and get involved. For some fast-paced excitement, stop by room 201 in the Convention Center to attend AMATIC's Ignite session at 6 p.m. on Friday night. All delegates should attend the delegate assembly at 3:45. Please be there at 3:15. It's in the Crystal Ballroom, that's over in the Hilton. And stop by the Palm Garden Hospitality area and or the Impromptu Room in 101C to network, meet old friends, and make new ones. Thank you. This concludes the Thursday general session. Please join me for the grand opening in the exhibits in ballroom AB. Enjoy the conference.